At the Saints Raphael, Nicholas and Irene Orthodox Church lies a tomb.
God, Holy Mighty, Holy Remote, have mercy on us. Holy God, Holy Mighty, Holy Remote, have mercy on us.
A memorial service is underway.
And to the Holy Spirit, both now and forever, and at the ages of ages. Amen.
This is the little harbour of influence that is richer than the man within who lies in his eternal silence. A man with a legacy so rich and sung while alive and potential so untouched. George Arthur Gatongo Gathuna of Nitiria. In another part of Thogoto, yet another service is in progress. After all, it is a Sunday. The St. Stephen's Orthodox Church exists as an inspiration from Gathuna. Thogoto was another sphere of spread of Christianity in this region after Rabai in Kilifi County. The Church Mission Society's outpost at Thogoto in Kiambu County was a game changer. It was also the cradle of education around here that was established at the turn of the 20th century. But by 1929, the missionaries were facing a storm. They had implemented a radical policy of ending the female circumcision rite. But members of the Agikuyu community will hear none of it. Songs leading to the actual cut soared the tides and fueled a rebellion.
These are the songs that were sung at this period, the circumcision songs that were sung at this period. The idea was to sing and mention some of these things that will be done during the circumcision period, that you will be elevated from becoming a small boy to become a man, you'll be elevated from becoming a small girl to a woman. Those kind of terms were seen by the church as dirty, as unholy, as unneeded. And so the locals found themselves in a lot of problems. Also polygamy was another problem. You can't be polygamous if you are a Christian. Originally, the polygamous men and women were found in church. Now, the church is saying no. So the locals kind of realize things are changing very fast. Then, on the other hand, people who are also part of this church, that is the British colonial government, are also taking over the land.
This led to the first split in the missionary-driven Christianity. Some members of the local community opted to form their own churches that would accommodate some African practices. Two groups emerged. The larger Kiambu region saw the formation of the Kikuyu Karenga Education Association. The Kikuyu Independent School Association, or KISA, was largely popular in eastern Kiambu, Murang'a, and Nyeri. Beyond the need to preserve the local culture while upholding education, these schools were also a catalyst for the struggle for independence. By the late 1930s, these independence churches were already facing their first crisis. They did not have priests to conduct services. Local theological institutions that were established by Western churches gave them a wide berth. In 1936, a black South African Orthodox bishop called William Daniel Alexander established a seminary at Gituamba in Murang'a. He had been contacted by a postman called James Buter, who was then working in Uganda. Alexander had earlier on trained Ugandan priests who had rebelled against the Anglican Church and formed the African Orthodox Church. There, he ordained Reuben Spartas Mukasa and his brother-in-law Obadiah Basa Jikitalo. On his part, James Buter had just been involved in the formation of the Kikuyu Central Association that was pushing the liberation agenda. While at Gituamba, Bishop Alexander trained 7 cohorts fronted by the 2 breakaway Kikuyu organizations, that is, the Kikuyu Karinga Education Association and the Kikuyu Independent School Association. But Alexander hired a local teacher called George Gathuna as his translator. Gathuna later joined the rest as a seminarian. This is the man who would later shape the destiny of the Greek Orthodox Church in Kenya.
Gathuna was born in 1905 within Waithaka, that is within Nairobi, and he studied in Rodhimitu Primary School, and from Rodhimitu Primary School he went to Mambere. Mambere used to be the intermediate school. It's in Dogoto, right before he joined Alliance High School. From Alliance High School, he went to Chogoria Teachers Training College, where he became a teacher. And in 1930, when he graduates, he teaches, he is employed immediately because he comes from this region where these Karinga churches are started. He joins, he goes to Rimuru, the first school, and then later on to Waithaka, where originally he came from, to teach in the Karinga schools.
Gathuna and Philip Kiande, who later founded the African Independent Church of Africa, or AIPCA, were the only 2 who excelled and were ordained as the first African Orthodox priest in Kenya. The rest were confirmed as deacons. But back in Uganda, an incident involving Spartans and a Greek resident called Vlachos unfolded in 1942.
A Greek family in Kampala saw a signpost saying African Orthodox Church. They went to the church. They wanted to have their child baptized. When they went there, they realized that the priest was wearing like an Anglican. He was doing some parts of the service like an Orthodox, like a Roman Catholic, so that mix complicated things. And Vlachos told this priest, Father Spartas, "You are not an Orthodox priest." Spartas was like, "What? But I'm African. I am Orthodox. And this is the Orthodox Church. What do you mean?" Then this Vlachos explained that what you have as an Orthodox church is different from what I go to and consider an Orthodox church. Then Spartas was very patient. He gave him an opportunity. He explained to him, we belong to the Greek Orthodox Church. And the Greek Orthodox Church has a church in the neighboring country, Tanzania, in Moshi. There is a priest there. I'm going to take you there. He's going to explain to you all about our church, and you'll see what I mean by this difference. The Ugandans didn't waste a lot of time. They went there. Hearing this was the authentic Orthodox Church, they went forward. They went there. They met this Father Nicodemus Sarikas, and Father Nicodemus Sarikas is the one who introduced them with the Greek Orthodox Church. And from there, they connected now with Gathuna. Now Gathuna, remember the ones in Muranga have a completely different ideal with the ones in Kiambu, especially when it comes to some of the way they are doing things. And there are 6 guys who they paid to come and be educated were not made priests, they were made deacons. That was not very helpful for them. So there was always that friction. So when Gathuna got connected with the Greek Orthodox, the ones in Muranga refused to be connected. And that is how the ones in Muranga ended up being today what we call the African Independent Pentecostal Church, AIPCA.
In 1946, Gathuna was ordained as a Greek Orthodox priest. However, the AIPCA Church, which was later joined and led by Father Philip Kiande, would maintain an association into the freedom struggle beyond the crosses. Kiande had ordained the founder of AIPCA Church, Benjamin Kahehia, who had earlier on been ordained as a deacon. Along Valley Road in 1951, one Greek man, Anagirios Antonia Monas, and his wife Angeliki had begun constructing an Orthodox church on a 3-acre piece of land. They had purchased the land a year earlier. They were part of the Greek community, mostly from Tanzania and Ethiopia, who had set base in Kenya. The church would later be completed 2 years later.
Who provided the overwhelming majority of the Land Freedom Army.
By 1952, the Mau Mau uprising had crystallized into an insurgency. Chief Waruhiu wa Kongo of Kiambaa was assassinated at Gashie, while the Lari massacre that targeted Chief Luka Kahangara would follow in 1953. In Nyeri, Senior Chief Ignatius Nderi was also killed. The Mau Mau had organized themselves into cells that operated in Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and parts of Kitui. After the murder of Chief Waruhiu, Governor Evelyn Baring declared a state of emergency. With the famous Kapenguria 6 arrested, Gathuna was not spared.
In Nairobi, capital of Kenya, Europeans and Africans still walk the streets in fear of the dreaded Mau Mau.
The Mau Mau movement had a committee that sat in parts in Nairobi, fundraising for the war against the British administration. George Gathuna, a priest, was part of this team. He would not just openly speak against the colonialists from the pulpit in his native Dagoretti, but also prayed for local fighters from their hideouts. For this, he was a marked man. The Greek Orthodox Church and its sister AIPCA were identified and profiled. Some churches in the region were burnt down, with more drastic measures taken.
End of 1951 and beginning of 1952, all our churches are shut down. And then Gathuna would be arrested on 21st of October 1952. He was arrested, and from there he stayed in for 8 years.
Gathuna was first locked up in Kajiado before being transferred to Hola detention camp. As the Kapenguria 6, Gathuna and hundreds of Mau Mau fighters faced harsh conditions in the various prisons. An interesting visit happened.
Archbishop Makarios, released from his exile in the Seychelles, arrives at Nairobi on his way to Greece.
Michael Christodoulou Mukus, or Bishop Makarios III, was in Nairobi on his way to Cyprus. He had just been released from detention in Seychelles for agitating for freedom from British colonial rule in his native country. He was staying at the Norfolk Hotel. However, he was allowed to deliver a sermon at the Orthodox Cathedral along Valley Road. Anastasia Giannopoulos, now aged 79, was just a little girl then.
And my father came to the school and got special permission if he could please allow us to leave the school and go to the church and listen to his sermon. And the headmaster said, you know, this is great. We don't usually get such requests. But he did give us permission, and we went and we saw this man who was imprisoned in Seychelles give us a talk about love and unity and not to hold grudges against people. And we were very proud, actually, very proud indeed.
However, part of Makarios III's sermon was unforeseen, for it went beyond love and celestial life.
So openly, he spoke, and addressing the people in the cathedral and the journalists, he said that myself, I come from a very small island, but because we are under the foreign colonial administration, I am going to continue my struggle until I see that that administration is no longer there. So I invite, he said, the Kenyans to do the same thing. Yes, not to give up the struggle for independence.
The British administration was livid. Other mainstream churches had already taken a stand against the Mau Mau movement, with a strong stand against oath-taking, but the Orthodox Church had gone against the grain.
Raila Odinga was only 10 years old, and his father, coming home after meeting with the Archbishop, he came in and he was so happy that today we met a very strange Muzungu wearing a hat, a black hat, black robes, and with the beards. you see, and he was telling us that we should not give up our struggle for independence. And I think that moment for them, it was a historic moment because now they took it more deeply and more seriously that they should continue their fight against the colonial government.
For standing with Africans in their quest for freedom, the Orthodox Church earned itself a place in the colonialist bad books.
Because the Orthodox Church was a proponent of Mau Mau. They were teaching about protesting and seeking for independence. They were rejecting anything that was of the British colonial rule. In fact, they were also rejecting the British churches for that matter. And they were for local, contextualized way of worship. People being led to take their cultures that do not affect their spirituality or their life. They were for people being free, owning their own lands, doing their own things without getting any assistance from anywhere else.
In our Orthodox understanding and teaching is that we should not interfere, with the local culture of the people, you understand? To accept the local people the way they are. They themselves, they will continue their different cultures, you understand? And because the culture, especially of the Kikuyus, but also of the other tribes here in Kenya, goes very well with our Orthodox. That is why it was very easy for us to accept the Africans, the Kenyans, the way they were. Because you know very well, in the 30s, there, when the British colonial rule interfered in the local culture of the people, you remember about the female circumcision, etc., and other items, it created a lot of enmity to the British by the Africans.
Indeed, female circumcision or female genital mutilation, as it has come to be known, has been a hot potato for successive governments in Kenya. It was only in 2011 that the rite was officially banned in the country. This followed a sustained push by local and foreign organizations against the act. The support from the Orthodox Church saw a solidarity of sorts between Kenya and Cyprus. In 1971, Bishop Makarios, who was now president of Cyprus, would land in Kenya on what was termed as an ecclesiastical visit. It was on this visit that he laid the foundation stone for the Makarios III Orthodox Seminary in a 30-acre piece of land donated by Kenyatta in Riruta. The church also put up PC Kinyanjui Technical College that has since been taken over by the government. Having served 9 years in detention and released in 1962, Gathuna was nominated as a councillor by President Jomo Kenyatta, serving between 1963 and 1971. He would later be elected in the same position, representing Dagoretti Ward. He succeeded Margaret Kenyatta, who went ahead and served as the first African woman mayor in Nairobi. However, the 1974 elections proved to be a situation for Gathuna as a religious leader and politician. In the Dagoretti constituency, two candidates were vying for the seat. One was Dr. Njoroge Mungai, who was Jomo Kenyatta's cousin and personal physician. His main opponent was Dr. Johnson Muthiora, who enjoyed the support of various political leaders, including then Vice President Daniel Arap Moi and Charles Njonjo, then serving as Attorney General. Muthiora was an Orthodox member, unlike Mungai. Gathuna supported Dr. Mungai. Well, he lost the seat to Muthiora. local Orthodox priests ganged up and petitioned the synod in Egypt to defrock Gathuna, accusing him of high-handedness, and they succeeded in 1979.
And according to my investigations, after all these years here, you know, when you are an African, you have a kind of, let us say, egoistic element, which is, of course, in each and every nationality. So, because he was strict with his fellow people, they themselves, they could not understand the role of such a personality. So for this reason, they decided to punish him and not to allow him to continue that great mission in the church.
Pray for the repose of your departed servant, George, the bishop, our brother and father and conservative in Christ, who has fallen asleep.
Gathuna died in 1987 of diabetes-related complications due to old age. However, his honor was restored in 1993 posthumously. He was buried at the Saints Raphael, Nicholas and Irene Orthodox Church in Thogoto, Kikuyu, in Kiambu County. Every year, annual prayers are held in his memory, graced by his surviving grandchildren. However, calls are now emerging from the church to grant him national honors, for they say his is a living eye.
He said one thing, and we are very extra careful about it, that when he dies, he will close one eye and the other eye will not be closed. And that is what happened when he died. One eye was closed, the other one is used to close completely, so that he can be looking those people that are not doing the right job or are not going in the right way in the church.
This is the man, His Grace Bishop George Ada Gatongo Gathuna, our founding father, the founding father of the African Orthodox Church of Kenya, as well as one of the Mau Mau liberation fighters, one of the person who was at the port where everything was done in this nation, where in the 1950s some of those people were snatched. A lot of people in Kenya know only of the Kapenguria 6, but they don't know that there was one clergyman who was arrested, the only one arrested during the Mau Mau liberation movement.
Our most humble request, and the greatest thing the government of Kenya can give this man and can do to this man and his family, it is to recognize him as a hero in this nation, among the greatest soldiers of this nation.
When I read about him, I was really motivated, and I had to get to the people and create interest in politics.
A nation's freedom is as a result of the sweat, courage, blood, grit and tears of its heroes. While the political leaders have always had the biggest share of praise and honor, there lies the ordinary folks who paid the price of losing their lives and their loved ones.